Morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the regular session of the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors for March 17, 2026. Roll call, please. Michelle.
Kurtenbach.
Here.
Grant.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Schwartz.
Here.
Leyland.
Here. I would like to ask everyone to join us for a moment of silence, and I was going to wait and make this announcement later at today's meeting, but because we have several items to discuss in the information to the board, I just wanted to ask for everyone's thoughts and prayers for Rory and his family with the passing of his father this last weekend. Thank you. Please join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1, agenda received as proposed or amended.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is received. Public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on something today that is not on the agenda? Anyone online? All right, moving on to claims and payments. This is a resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures and that the county auditor be authorized and directed to issue payments against the various settlement of such claims as above.
So moved. Second.
Good morning, Board. Our total bill payment today is $193,534.14. Of that, the Sheriff 60/40 fund, we're making $4,043.25. There's some annual alarm monitoring bills in there, making it a little higher than typical. And I don't think we actually had anything kind of large or unusual to point out today, so everything appears to be in order.
Any questions for Michelle? Please answer as your name is called.
Hall.
Yes.
Grant.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Kurtenbach.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Moving on to item 4, receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Morning, Board. Ryan Brennan, Assistant County Engineer. Roads are looking much better today. Obviously, crews were out all of yesterday with the snow. We had the trucks and the graders out just spreading salt sand and moving some of the drifting off the roadways. We are expecting some snow overnight tonight, so we anticipate crews will be back out again tomorrow. So they're just spending some time getting things cleaned up, mixing salt sand and preparing for that today. Also, with warmer weather by the end of the week, we are anticipating crews getting back out and kind of continuing with brush cutting as well. So, questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other updates? Anyone online that would like to make an update? Or Amanda, did you?
I thought I would make an update. I believe I sent out to all of you last week. Moody's does an annual update to their credit metrics. It doesn't change our rating, it's just some comments they put out there about the area. And I thought it was an interesting evaluation. I was trying to get more information about the dates they used as they calculated their medians, and I've been unable to get that as of today, so I'm not sure what time period their medians are as of, so it makes it harder to compare to ours. But it was interesting that all 5 measures in the economy section, Blackhawk County is below the median, so I think that's something for us all to be aware of as we're working on taxes. In the financial performance, our revenue is low, but our available fund balance is right at the median, and our available cash is higher than the median. So our fund balance ratio and our liquidity ratio are both significantly higher than the median. So on whole, I would say today our financial position is very good. That's one thing that's interesting about what the state is trying to do with wanting us to reduce fund balances is that will likely have a negative effect on this type of measurement from Moody's, unfortunately. Our current debt statistics, the leverage ratios, we are all in excellent shape compared to the median because we don't have very much debt today. So that's the analysis we have. But I did just want to share that, and if you had questions about the document that I sent out.
Michelle, what's the negative side then from the area being below the median?
Well, my concern would be that our residents are less able to pay property taxes. You know, if your income is lower than the medians, your ability to pay is possibly lower too. So that would be the concern that I would have with that.
I was gonna say, it seemed like they always tag us to like for growth, seeing like the tax base growing and growth in the
Yes,
area, and that's something the economy is kind of held back on.
Yes, that was one disappointing measure, the annual growth in real GDP. And this would be for the, what they call the MSA, so it's Waterloo Cedar Falls statistical area. But our annual growth in real GDP and the most recent statistics they've provided are 22 and 23. They're both negative at 0.8% and 0.9%, comparing to what they have the median set at, which is 2%. And that's one of the reasons I'm still trying to find out, I just haven't gotten it yet, what time period they set that as of, because they are not even reporting anything for us yet for either 24 or 25. So if we're at 23 and they're comparing us to 25, I'd like to understand that. And maybe they're not, maybe they're doing everything through 23. I just don't know.
To your point about reserves, do they index, because all counties will be sort of in the same boat, if legislation passes that caps what we can keep in reserve?
Well, that's only in Iowa though.
And they index it
These are gonna,
regional.
this is gonna be national, so that's why that's likely to have a
Got it.
negative impact for all
Oh,
counties in Iowa.
Okay.
So this comes out every March, is there any updates through the rest of the year? Any of this?
No, and I don't know that they even do this every March. This is fairly new. I've only seen it twice, last year and this year, but maybe that's something new they're starting to do annually. I'm not sure about that.
It's good to have that snapshot for comparison, so I hope they do continue.
It is helpful to see that.
Thank you.
Yep.
We're moving on. Item 5, minutes approved, March 10, 2026, and a special session was at the Farm Bureau, March 9, 2026.
Moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, minutes are approved. Item 6 is the consent agenda. The following items are acted upon by a single resolution without discussion unless someone wishes to remove an item for discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please answer as unanimous call.
Grant,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item number 7, excuse me, contracts and agreements. Resolution that the change order 005 received from Peters Construction for the Pine Crest renovation project located at 1407 Independence Avenue, Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount of $33,197 be approved, and for the chair to sign for same as recommended by Rory Giving, Facilities Director.
So moved.
Second.
Good morning, Board. Carol Cornelius, Facilities Operations Manager. There were 11 different items on this change order. Some had to do with structural, HVAC, painting, a wide variety of things. One of the larger items was doing load testing on 2 of the existing emergency exits, one off the north wing one off the northeast side of the chapel and one off of the east side of first floor. We had another which switched out all the flush valves in the new restroom toilets from 1.28 gallons per flush to 1.6 because we had received quite a few complaints that people were having to double flush and they figured it was a larger waste of water to have to do that. So we had those switched out. We had some wire mold added where we were trying to save cost from having to rerun wire through the walls. It was a minimal charge. There were 3 deductions here where we opened up areas in the former VA building, which will be the clinic, and determined that there were existing cutouts in the wall that we could reuse in the clinic side going forward. So Peter's worked with Envision Architecture to rearrange some of the exam rooms so they would fit into the existing structure and to save on some structural costs there. Are there any questions?
Got a couple. Carol, was there a reason why the load testing on the stairs wasn't included in the original bid?
So when we had the fire marshal on site, he requested this. So that's why we did it.
I'm not in favor of doing wire mold in a new construction. I don't know, how much was there savings by doing wire mold compared to just opening the wall and putting them in?
So that actually was not in new construction. It was on second floor west, which is HHS. And since we took second floor east for health department, we had to move their servers. And it was just at the request, they just wanted some additional lines run for new needs in that department.
Okay, wasn't the new construction area. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
With the fire marshal, when you say request, does that mean they're making us do it? Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Well, another choice of words.
yeah, there's probably no please in that one.
Yeah, just written up. Thank you. Anything else? Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item number 8, legislative update, discussion and possible board action to approve position statement on pending legislation.
Couple of things for you today. And I'm gonna kinda include with this, the stuff I learned at the ISAC Spring Conference last week. There was a lot of discussion about issues that a certain one county may have going on, and then all of a sudden they wanna correct that issue by adding legislation. There was numerous bills that the folks shared with us that this is going on with that. To the extent, one of the concerns was this year during funnel, usually you see about 30, maybe 40% of the original bills filed make it through funnel. This year, 92% of them made it through. And a lot of this is a kind of, some would call frivolous bills, and not much behind it, but they're dealing with a lot of problems down there with different odds and ends of legislation. The revenue report did not come in good. They were kind of expecting that. The feeling was from ISAC that with that situation, they're gonna be looking at getting done soon and getting out of the Des Moines. Just getting done. The next funnel is this Friday, so it may be wrapping up here quickly. Talking with one of the legislators, the 2% cap is not necessarily in stone, as I was shared with me. Asked if 2.5 or 3. They are talking different numbers, but 2% is not in stone. We had a very poignant discussion with the supervisors. There's a room of probably 110 to 120 supervisors. I felt like I was one of the youngest ones in there, if that's any indication. So with that, there was a ask in taking a position with the township elimination. There was nobody present at that meeting that was in favor of eliminating the townships. There is one county that already is allowing their township to have the board appoint and take care of some other issues. So they can do that, they don't have to pass legislation, we have that option if we so choose, so. That was an interesting conversation to be involved in. With the whole conference, there was a large interest in NACO, being more involved with NACO. And we had a conversation with, like we have our direct with ISAC, Andrea Woodward. They had the same person from Wisconsin, Missouri, and Nebraska there. And we talked about current issues, especially legislation. All the states are dealing with a lot of these same issues with the property tax issue. So it's not just Iowa, it's not just a local issue, this is something that's being spread among a lot of different states. The big issue is every conversation was something brought up about the property tax reform. And then we did have a session on update on the mental health care change. It is still struggling, they're still dealing with problems getting answers and moving forward, so there was a lot of information brought forward how people are falling through the gaps and the cracks when it comes to mental health with this change the state taking over. So, very large concern and still not getting the answers that we need. So, kind of combining both reports into one.
I think the UCC meeting, the message was pretty much there've been a few amendments here and there, waiting to see kind of what they'd end up doing with property tax. And hold on until the second funnel, which is right, and see what clears that, and see what we're at, so. Thank you, Rich. Great, moving on to item 9, the work session. Discussion, possible board action, and considerations of all aspects of the fiscal year 27 Blackhawk County budget. Killed a few trees for us today. Ready to review.
Yep,
Thank you.
updates are getting smaller, but you know, there's always something that changes. So.
That's why it's, thank you for doing it. It's the latest and best.
Yep, I thought we would start out with the budget adjustments we've made so far. And I want to point out one additional one that I have added since last Thursday. You probably remember we reviewed some of our revenue sources a few weeks ago. And one of them was something called monies and credits tax. And we had quite a dip in 2025. I don't know if the state was listening or it's a coincidence, but last Thursday, our treasurer's department was notified that there was an error in the distribution that was made to us in 2025, and so we are receiving a substantial payment. And that increases our 3-year average by 67,000, so I'm suggesting we put that 67,000 right in here. So I have added that, and that is not something you have seen before because we literally just are finding that out. But it's not very often we get positive change, so I was excited to be able to add that in here.
And there really wasn't a lot of detail provided on this, like.
No, they just don't. At least the good thing is now I have, one of our difficulties was knowing who to start asking questions of, and I now have the name and phone number and email, so in the future we'll at least know who we can ask questions of. That's been just a small thing over the years that has changed, that they changed that law a few years ago, so the revenue's substantially higher now than it was 5 years ago.
Nice to have the timing.
Yes, I was very thankful it came now instead of May 10th when I
Yes.
can't do anything about it,
Yeah.
so yes, that was a good thing. So all the decisions, if you want to, we can go through lines, but I don't know that I think it's necessary. All the changes that you requested or agreed with last week bring us down. We're actually now, with the exception of the 2 items you're funding from reserves, but other than that, we are below the 350 cap, which is great because that means we can lower the general supplemental levy a nudge by that in the general fund. And we have increased the rural a little bit. That was kind of the trade-off there. The only other suggestions that I have on the list for your future consideration is really if you want to use fund balance to basically buy down the tax rates. I have not incorporated that piece at this point.
And our fund balance is at what rate now currently?
As of June of 25 was probably 56%, I think is what we calculated, that's the general fund only. Supplemental was a little higher than that, and rural was quite high in 84. So there's definitely room under there, as we talked about before, and we'll talk about it more when we hit another sheet in here. I think the issue is you're kind of setting the base for that future 2% cap. That's what I'm struggling with. Right now, that's being kind of a negative incentive, I guess, to bring your budgets down. So it's difficult right now to find the right balance with that.
Michelle, along those lines, I think we might consider, with this new revenue that was able to lower the 3.5, it might be prudent to fund, even though it'd be just a small portion, but a small portion of the capital out of that, like we used to be able to do in prior years.
Yep, that is absolutely another option. Yep.
I was gonna say, have you considered probably several options here, and I'm thinking about it, more the better, I guess. We have in some years had multiple scenarios, right, Chris?
And you really
That's
have
right.
them too. We just have mostly done them a week at a time.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Sometimes to, review them and, see the pros and cons. Or the amounts, like you said, if you're talking about using reserves, what that amount would
Yes,
be,
we'll-
that'd be helpful, but there's.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So I updated the property tax asking worksheet just so if you want to, you can see where the numbers land with all the adjustments we've made so far. So now the general supplemental is sitting at a 1.3% increase. General basic is at 2.6%, and that is from increases in property values. That's where that almost 552,000 came from. That isn't necessarily new growth, although hopefully there's some in there. Some of that's just the revaluation of existing properties. So that's why we see a bit different impact when we start looking at individual taxpayers.
And that usually seems to wait for the year that we've been fortunate enough to have that, and then the next year usually isn't.
Right, because we only, under the current property tax law, we only do the individual revaluations every other year. So assuming that schedule remains the same, next year there will be 0 revaluation increase. We may get some new growth, but that will likely, what we're allowed to tax for under the general basic, you won't see an increase like that next year to cover raises. I would be very surprised anyway. Then when we throw in the rural levy, it has a 2.8% increase at this time, and that's from, we shifted more of the deputies over, we've shifted a couple of other things over there, in addition to the typical pay raise changes. We are still beginning to use the rural supplemental levy in 2027, which, again, as I reread some of the proposals out there, we may want to keep something in that levy. They seem to have specific language talking about if you use a new levy, so you may not want to have to think we want to use this in a future year without starting it now. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate way to look at it, but.
So when you say something, keep something, you recommend that what we have currently in it?
Not necessarily, again, we'll talk about that when we get to the fund balance slides, we're gonna get to those in a few minutes, but that's a very good question. And the debt service, you'll remember, we're increasing that a bit because we know we see future things coming. So after all the adjustments that we've made so far, our tax askings now are sitting at an increase of 2.9% when we include the debt service. You'll notice that the information that's published in the paper for the proposed hearing doesn't necessarily reflect the debt service. So that increase is a little bit lower. It's actually higher than what it will end up being for the other levies, it's just not a complete picture. It just becomes very confusing.
And 2.9 does have it.
The 2.9% does include the proposed increase in the debt service levy, yes. So when we incorporate all those, what happens to an individual property, and again, these are examples only, and I've left some history on here. You can see where we started in February. And I've left a couple of the meetings on, not all of them. But to get down to where we are today, a residential urban property would have a 4.17% increase. Commercial at just over 2%. Industrial, if it's a warehouse, again, there are gonna be wide swings in that category. But if you had a warehouse that wasn't evaluated as a warehouse previously, you're gonna be looking potentially at 11% increase. Multi-residential now has a slight reduction of 0.3%. Residential rural is having an increase of 5.23%, which you may choose to want to lower that a bit. And ag property is at 3.36% today. And you also, I did send you also the details, of going through the calculations of each of those, which I'm not gonna go through now. Then, to answer some of the questions we've talked about, I have put together several options, illustrated options of what would happen if we chose to use certain levels of fund balance. And what I only showing it on here for the urban and rural residential properties. The others all kind of, they come along too, but I assume these would be the most important ones to look at. So today, and I put on here the total tax collections change because that's the percentage that the state legislature is talking about. When they talk about a 2% cap, it's gonna be on your total tax collections. And there are different versions of that. Some include debt service, some do not. We just have to wait and see what happens there. So we just talked about the urban residential having 4.17% increase and the rural having 5.23. So then I just picked some levels to see what would happen. If we use only 100,000 of the general supplemental fund balance, brings our collections down to 2.63, brings an urban residential increase to 3.79, and brings a rural residential down to 5. And you can see how those change if we use 200 or 300. I added in option 4 just because I wanted to understand how much it would take to reduce a residential property by a full percentage point roughly. And I think you'd probably be looking at the 390,000 that we would have to take out of fund balance to get there. That would bring your total tax collection increase down to 1.88%. Leaves your residential, urban residential at a 3% increase and brings rural down to 4.55. So then I went through a next round showing what if we did some general supplemental reduction and some rural.
Yeah, plug it away. I sent a feed for that organic one today. I don't remember what you wanted. Or if I should-
Somebody needs to mute her.
I wasn't sure sure at first.
Listen,
Okay.
on mute.
That happens to me sometimes too. So you can see, I'll walk you through option 5. If we use 100,000 of the general supplemental fund balance and 50,000 in the rural, which would mean reducing the use of that rural supplemental levy by 50,000. Your total tax collections then are at 2.5%. Your urban increase is still at 3.79 because that's the same 100,000 we had above. But your rural residential is down to 4.55. And so just at the various levels, that's what happens. If you look at option 8, using 390,000 of the general supplemental plus, I limited the use of the rural supplemental at 125,000 because that leaves us just a very small fraction, but at least gets our ability into using the rural supplemental. That would reduce our total tax collections to 1.55%. Leaves your urban residential at 3.03. It brings your rural residential property at 3.18% increases. So that kind of puts them, I felt like, on a little more level footing between the urban residential and the rural residential.
Now, Michelle, this is still including that we're basically underfunding $1 million thinking we're having.
It does have the turnover factor in it, and yes, when I started doing that, I really felt like I was under budgeting. Our experience is not showing that we've been dipping into that. And even this year again, it doesn't seem that we will, so it would appear that won't be a problem, I guess is how I'm gonna say that. I do wanna formalize that $1 million and treat it as a signed fund balance, which I haven't done before, but I think I just wanna get it earmarked for future.
Were you looking at other things too, also for signing?
Yes, for example, I'm suggesting we do the full 5 years of equipment that's in the CIP. We've got a plan, we know what we're going to do, so I'm suggesting putting all that in. Supervisor Brand had a good suggestion about the last 5 years of the Axon lease, so sign that as well.
The one time we talked about, and I think this was prior to your time being here, about an IHP fund, Internet Technology Fund, being some of those improvements were quite out there and quite expensive. I don't know if that was something to consider too, just
Well,
throwing out
yeah.
options.
I have,
Infrastructure.
there's been some information's come out from the state that I've seen that they thought you needed to hold money in the, if it's general fund money, that it needs to stay in the general fund until you're about to begin the project, so their thought seems to be, I can assign, at this point in time, I can assign it in the general fund, but not necessarily move it to another fund, like the technology fund. We do have the technology fund with a smaller balance in it, but we would have to develop, I would like to see a plan for what we would be setting aside, money for whatever we were going to do.
Like a 5-year plan, but like.
Yes, and I have used that, at least got it set aside in the general fund now.
Just thoughts. I'm sure that assignment won't last a long time.
Oh, I'm
We'll
sure.
probably change the rules on that too, but for now.
We can hope not. The wording that I saw, the governor's bill did specifically use the term undesignated, so I'm trying to be positive that that word's gonna remain. Because, that's.
Well, and that you're using it for planning.
Yes, that you have a plan, right. So,
I was looking at the 2 8s, and you had an 8 and.
oh, darn it,
Oh,
I
good.
forgot to update it.
I was seeing that, wondering, okay,
I'm
explain
sorry.
this to me now, why we have an 8
No.
and 8 and, but that's okay.
It's because, the reason, well, I'll tell you why, the reason is because I added the second 8, after I got to thinking about the rural supplemental and that I don't know that we want to eliminate it. If the last time you saw this exhibit, I was showing elimination of the rural supplemental and just using fund balance, which I one side of my brain would be okay with that, but because we don't know what they're doing at the state, and because it sounds like there really will be some kind of cap, and there was information about restrictions on using new levies, which makes no sense to me, but if any of that stays, it may not be in our best interest to do that, so I apologize, yes, I copied and I didn't update that number.
No, I just wanted to be sure I understood.
Yeah,
why
you're
it was
looking
that
at the
way.
right thing, that is on me.
That's good, I just thought, okay,
I
I'm
tried.
missing the point.
I try to get all the details updated, but some days I miss it,
That was an easy explanation.
Yeah.
Okay.
so.
And plus we've talked about it a little bit yesterday, I know you and I did, even TJ, I think, was in some of those conversations when we're not sure what is gonna be happening yet this year. While it's nice to get the budget over and behind you and move forward, it doesn't maybe necessarily work to our benefit to do that so immediate. Maybe we can find out more information or have more to make decisions by before.
Yes, that is,
Because we need to make some.
it's another thing that's making finalizing the budget difficult this year. It would be great if they were just out of there by March 31st and we knew what we were looking at.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that we do have some choices to make. As you know, we're having that first hearing next Tuesday. At that same not that same meeting, that has to be a separate meeting with its own agenda, but then we will have our regular meeting after that. And I would typically ask you to set the date of hearing for the budget adoption hearing, the second hearing at that meeting. But that's the question. We have till the end of April, and I don't really wanna push completely up to that deadline, but you could wait a week or two in there, should you want to before finalizing things.
Well, I guess by next week we'll have a second funnel.
That will help, we'll have that,
See where we're maybe at with that.
yes.
Could we wait till the 30th, do a special meeting on the 30th if we needed to?
To set the date of hearing. You could, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, cause I need about 3 weeks. Unfortunately, the paper wants a week. I have to send them the data, they have to have it for a week before they put it in the paper. It's gotta be in the paper for a solid 10 days prior to the hearing. So, you're right, we can always have, the hearing does not have to be on a Tuesday, we can do it.
Well, I'm trying to think when's the last day, so we have some idea what's going on down there.
Be surprised if they adjourn before the 10th, but you never think, yeah. And the 10th is too late. Although you can always, if you have the hearing after adjournment, which you could do, I don't know if you wanna try sometime the week of the 20th even. You could push it to the 27th or 28th, but I prefer not to,
Of
honestly.
April, you mean, or March?
Of April,
Okay.
to have that, yeah, we can't have the last hearing till sometime in April.
And better to
Alright.
not wait till the last day.
I know,
unless you
it
have
makes
to.
me nervous, cause if the
Yeah.
paper doesn't publish or something,
Yeah.
things happen all the time. But you could potentially have it one day during that week of April 20th. And that, I could probably swing it if you did it March 30th or 30th. If we set the date of hearing on March 30th or 31st, we should be able to have the hearing sometime that week of the 20th.
Okay.
So if you'd like to wait that long, we can.
And we'll know maybe more, like I said, after next week, or this week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to see
well,
if
hopefully,
things are-
yes.
Maybe.
I just never know what deals get cut. You know, sometimes, especially when they've got this much on their plate, the last few years they've been pulling all-nighters and you don't know
Yeah.
what happens in the back room on that last night
Last year.
until it's over. It's a very, doesn't feel like a very transparent process to me, put it that way.
Nervous for us.
Yeah, it is nerve-wracking. So, would you suggest then not even setting the date of that next hearing next Tuesday? I can hold off on that. Okay, I'll wait.
Me, I think we need to wait till last minute, so we know what's going on down there.
Yeah, I mean,
If we gotta make any other final adjustments off of what they're doing.
yeah, I mean, that's what sounds good to do.
I-
Roll the dice,
I think it probably makes sense this year not to.
at least a little time, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it, you probably, I don't have these numbers, I was gonna say, when you said, talking about using, you know, our general fund as well as, the difference that it makes to the funds that, when we do these types of things, and
So, the general supplemental has
seeing
a,
this up, yeah.
that has a really healthy fund balance. I think it was maybe at 70%, so it's not, that won't be a problem there. And rural, because of all the deputy vacancies in 2025, I think, that's got a very high fund balance, like 84%, I think. So I actually think that group of taxpayers would, we probably need to, yeah, I think we need to do something. We need to use some of that fund balance. The question is how much? And that's when you run into this thing about using a new levy or not using a new levy. So I would, without, if I wasn't worried about that, I would probably suggest you use more of the.
You said 70 and 94?
84, I think.
There's 84.
Yeah. Those are approximations, but that's what I remember right now.
And Michelle, just to clarify, this option 8 leaves a little bit in a rural supplemental levy.
Yes, not
Okay.
much, but a little, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's the wise thing to do since we were basically on the cusp of really having to use it this year. So we unfortunately need that tool possibly in the future.
That was my concern, Chris. We may need it more next year than we need it this year. But have they done this in the past? I mean, letting your years use it for this process?
You mean
Fund balances like this?
You mean as far as using it for
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, this isn't the first time.
all right.
It's just the amounts, looking at the amounts, and I think the scenarios that she presented before, and finding what makes you want.
So you have actually 9
well.
options just on this page, and we've looked at like 40 others probably.
Good to have, yeah, that's all right, it's good to have some.
It is, and it is where we're at, it's what we need to do. You do need to think through where your comfort levels are and what your goals are for the taxes, but you also have to consider what might be
Long-term
coming.
implications.
Yeah,
We
right,
had
that's,
some other things to consider, I think decisions that we were gonna make too, or at least leave open if we wanted to make some changes to our budgets. numbers.
yeah, you can always cut more.
Play a part.
Yeah, and yes, and that will be a question I have when I publish for the budget adoption hearing. And if we're not going to do that next week, we have a few more days, I guess, to make that decision. But I do need to know what you want to publish at. In term, like I would probably recommend at least publishing only the rates that we have calculated through the day. Because I'm hoping you've got consensus now on all the changes we've incorporated so far. So that's something you need to think about if you're comfortable with what we've done through today. And then if there's things you want, more that you want to do. And all the reductions don't have to be in that published notice. It's just, it might, the lower that is, I think it's easier for the public, I guess, because they see what you're bringing it down to. But you don't have to, you just can't, whatever we publish, we can't exceed. So both the tax rates and the amount by program. So.
And we're already seeing or hearing, I think, some people responding to what they've seen and for the numbers they've seen, they're concerned.
Yeah.
I guess, concerned being the right word, or upset.
Yeah, some of the notices, I was surprised, some notices were delivered yesterday, I had 5 phone calls, I don't know about the auditor's office or the treasurer's, but if I got 5, they probably got at least that many.
Sure.
So,
Some of it is some of it I know is the understanding of it.
It's, most of mine are
It's
just,
been a few years, but it's still,
yeah, trying to figure out how it works.
Or if they need to do anything.
yes.
Yes, do I own
Hearing
these?
about it,
Is
and
this
then Michelle
available?
said he wanted to hear it, and I thought it was good.
Thank you for the pieces here too, for helping people understand and communicate.
Cheat sheet.
So if you're ready,
So timeline wise, what are you suggesting for some of these specific?
well, if you're comfortable or want to wait longer to set that date of hearing, I think we can wait until probably at least next Tuesday for direction on what you want me to work on publishing, because I've got to get those numbers in the software. And then we can set that date of hearing around March 30th, 31st for sometime that second to last week in April.
Any suggestions you have to kind of lead us through 9 options? I mean, I know you have to, I mean, to help us come together. but,
Like number 8.
you know, so-
I honestly think we're all right with 8 or 8A, I'm gonna call it 8A.
8A, okay, that's what I wondered. Okay. Yours is specific.
4%,
8A, oh, 8A.
I don't know what the
4 and
accent-
5% increases are not comfortable for me, that's,
I'm sorry.
I like to see us below inflation, and I think getting down in that 3% range is a lot better, so.
Yeah, that's why I said that 4 to 17 kept sticking in my head, but it's like, what do we take, what do we need to do to get below it?
And I keep thinking this year, because we had the change in assessments, we got the growth. Next year, we won't see that, so next year may be a little more tighter and they'll do stuff.
We're gonna get, those TIF districts are being released.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those aren't,
I don't know if that's
that
gonna
growth
be
isn't
much.
gonna offset the growth we're gonna see in expenditures.
Yeah.
The thing about the TIF district, yes, there is some coming off, we know that. But not all the TIF districts are currently using all their maximum revenue. And so if they decide they need that, that will wipe out those releases, or could. I don't know if it will, it could. So it's hard to count on,
When would we know
TIF
that?
release revenue right now.
When would we know that?
Not until sometime in December. Cities have to, well, we would have to too if we had a TIF district, but those certifications are required to be filed by December 1st every year. That's one reason. Those have to get filed, then there's a whole process through the auditor's office, that's why your values can't really come out until
Like,
late to end of December, because there's a whole process to doing all that.
so do we know the estimate of what we were thinking that might be, since I know it's come up other times?
I remember talking, I think it was TJ about that last fall.
It's around 80 million, I believe.
80?
Something like that.
No,
I'm speaking from memory, it's in that range.
and what that means to us.
It was about 189,000 increase in your 350.
Yeah.
So instead of 551 that we had this year, 189. That's if it's all released and nothing.
Yeah, that's if it is, okay.
Well,
And by December-
that will be released if they don't replace it somewhere else, another city or whomever, you know.
Our portion.
And I think after that, I understand there's a long dry spell before there's any forced releases, so.
For future ones. Who would we ask to know that, or how would we go about finding out when those are, or how far?
The future,
Yeah.
Tim Jameson,
Just,
and
okay.
yeah, he does have a schedule, so.
2030 is the next year.
maybe a schedule, would be helpful. Okay.
I imagine. Do that.
He's got all that information.
Michelle, what's the source of the dollars on the rural residential easing? The scenarios 5 through 8 at. What's the source of those dollars? Is it general
The column that
reserves?
says rural levy would be from the rural fund.
It is from the rural fund.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, yeah, it has to be.
Thank you.
And that's the one at 84%.
Yes.
So if we use the 125,000 and they're the max that you have down there, does it drop it at any significant?
Well-
Are we still seeing it after that?
You mean the 84%?
Yeah,
Actually, it won't, but too much. Well, it'll drop to the 125,
Yeah.
if that's what you choose. You know, if everyone spends everything in their budget and we collect exactly what's budgeted, then it would be that 125.
It'd be kinda nice to know what
Which
it would
would
be,
still,
if it's 70% today for general supplemental, if we do the full 390, what would be left then? Percentage wise,
you'd still be in the high 60s, I
High
think. It
60s.
still would.
okay.
We really don't, in my opinion, or whatever penny that's worth, we don't need as high of a balance in that restricted fund because our general reserves in the general fund tend to cover most of what we would need. There's very few activities that are allowed to be budgeted directly out of the general supplemental. It's mostly employee benefits that go along with general fund employees, so it would not hurt anything to use that.
so we most likely, who knows, we'll go for the 8A or the 9 or whatever the option,
Yes.
last option is. Sorry.
I
Oh,
tricked you.
the last one. Sounds like a winner.
Well, I know there's several reasons why they've built up, not having, or not able to fill all the positions primarily part of that. So, and again, I don't like the idea that we're overtaxing, we got dollars sitting here, we can backfill that with tax dollars that we were asked for, so I don't feel bad, concerned about that.
Yeah, from a taxpayer standpoint, that's kind
Yeah.
of what you've already taxed people, so it's good to do.
It's their dollars already.
Yeah.
Are you thinking you would want to incorporate that in the publication or just,
That'd be some
Later.
things that do that. If you look, you want every little bit you can get, right, since we don't wanna wait till everything's in.
Can we wait till next week?
it doesn't, I'm good with waiting, I just wanted to
Okay.
ask as long as you're talking about it,
Yeah,
what you would,
give it, wait for a motion till
We'll
then,
wait.
if that's all right.
that's fine,
That's
that's
okay with
absolutely
everyone?
fine.
To wait till next week for action on
Or even till next week.
it. We'll see how we feel Tuesday.
Yes,
Maybe we'll feel.
What's the difference between item 7, just looking at that urban residential property, between item 7 and item
Not-
8A, 9?
when you look at an urban residential, there isn't much, you will see, there is a little more difference for a commercial property or an industrial property.
Got it.
That, it's actually interesting to see how that 90,000 does not,
Impact.
I mean, it's cents, right?
Yeah.
There is an impact, I can't say there's not an impact, but it's less than $1
Yeah.
per 100,000.
Got it.
So, yeah, it is interesting to see how that math works out.
Uh-huh.
Very good question.
This makes us into two resumes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that one was helpful. I think we made progress, even if we don't take action today.
Yeah, no, I think
Something.
we are making progress, very good progress. So, are we ready to maybe talk more about future planning? All right, so estimated debt service, this, I know these have a lot of numbers, there's probably an easier way to present it, but this is what you're getting today. The things we're gonna talk about now really have an impact on a few years out, more than they do fiscal 27, 28, 29 even, this first page. But one of the things that we've been working on, we found out the public radio system, public safety radio system, I probably should call it, I couldn't get all the words on here, needs to be updated. It's, we all know technology becomes obsolete relatively quickly, and we're in that time frame. The vendor has done some work to try to break it out into 3 separate pieces. And so I've tried to get that incorporated in here. It doesn't really affect the first few years. The radios themselves do. I am suggesting selling those bonds probably in June of 27. That would have the first principal and interest payments due in 28. And we're amortizing that only over paying it back over 7 years, because the life of the radios is generally presumed to be 7 years. So that kind of is a heavy lift. That would work in our program fairly smoothly, but we also need to replace some infrastructure items that go along with that. And that is where adding that is causing my debt service levy to go up more than I would like. So next page of that, you can see we're growing kind of slowly with debt service repayments until we hit 2023. I have not, if we have to sell the last part of the infrastructure, you can see on here I'm suggesting selling 3.7 million in 2030, which is the first portion of the infrastructure that needs to be replaced. And then in 2032, the last portion. When you get that far out, they're pretty rough estimates even on the cost of the items. So they're all estimates. But by the time we need to add in that third piece in 2032, that's a pretty substantial chunk increase in the debt service levy, which I just hate to see. As I'm trying to plan things out, I just don't like that. We may not have a choice, but we're gonna try. And that continues, we've got some high years there through 2034 and 2035. Then it begins to drop off, partially because I haven't done much general CIPs after our 5 years. There might be more we wanna do for other county projects in those out years that haven't been taken into account yet. So I kept trying to figure out ways to make it less painful, which I've done. Still through 29, I think we're all right. That allows you to get the public radios. We had already projected kind of including a 3.5 million of our general county CIP, so I've got that starting in 29. Again, and this is your second set of debt service levy pages that you have. When we get to that page, if we would take $1 million out of our current bond issue, projects that we're wanting to bond for, it helps tremendously. It kind of gets the hump, if you will, out of 2030. I mean, it's growing a little bit in 2030, 2031, but it really begins to make a difference in 2032. 2033 is still high, and so will be 34 and 35. We would have to reduce the current bond issue even more to get those down. But looking out with what I'm seeing, we really you might want to consider delaying or not doing some of the things that we thought we would do now for 27 and 28. and I know it's hard to talk about that when I'm talking about changing the taxes in, 2032, but we're making those choices now because we pay that first, the bond issue for this year, we pay back over 10 years. So we are impacting those out years. And the radio system begins to impact it as well, so it just,
So the years concerning Michelle again was 28, 29.
more,
Late 32.
I think we're okay in 28 and 29 roughly. I mean, there's some increases and I am using a little bit of fund balance to buy that down a little bit too.
Okay.
It's the years where it becomes really difficult. This is with the 3 million. If we cut it by a whole million, we still have pretty hefty increases out in 23, 33 and 34. That's what's difficult. This is a long ways out, right? But the choices we make today will impact those. If we do the 4 million, we start seeing those substantial increases in, it's my right year here. Still 33. It's when I get out to 33 and 34, it's either that last general bond issue of 3.5 million, or it's that last piece of the public radio infrastructure that just is going to cause some strain. And of course, I don't know what interest rates are gonna be that many years out. We're projecting 4 because that's the best number we've got today.
Because what we're really trying to avoid is that spike, right?
I am working very hard to avoid that, but.
What are the shortest terms that we can bond for? Just thinking through, if the intent is to really avoid these $500,000, right? Are there some shorter term bonds that future boards could consider to help ease that immediate spike as they, continue to?
Well, you could get shorter term loans,
Yeah.
but that would bump up things now.
What's the repayment
I'm saying in-
schedule?
I'm saying in 28 or 29, if they were to issue some shorter term to sort of avoid that immediate, sort of hit the wall and go up, if it's a more gradual increase.
But I'm saying then in 28, 29, you'd have bigger increases to have less in the later years. It's, yeah, you can definitely do that. You
Yeah.
just have to decide where you want those increases to come.
This is on a, how many year repayment schedule?
The public radios themselves are 7. The infrastructure that goes with the public radios are 10.
Okay.
And we have been using 10 on our others. That's fairly short, but we've been in a position to be able to afford to do that historically. It's one of the things that helps keep our financial ratings high.
What is something that you could bond longer for that would make more sense? I mean, it does make sense, the radio is a radio system with a 10-year shelf life. But is there something that, if we're looking like bridges or something for
Well, we don't have-
conservation?
We don't have anything in there for roads. It would be, maybe some building improvements or park improvements and conservation. Those would be the things that you'd have to extend.
Because right now we have to bond for vehicles, but that doesn't make sense to
No,
go.
we can't.
Oh, we
Remember,
can't, that's right, that's right,
So we're not bonding for
those are on account.
movable equipment, those are all coming out of fund balance. So the only things, if we, and this, we'd have to go look, maybe what we wanna do is switch to,
I was comparing capital requests from last year to this year of each of the departments. And there was some changes, a couple of them were putting stuff back, a couple of them were increasing numbers.
Could we also pull from reserves gradually, annually, to help offset some of the borrowing and then reduce the interest expense? And I don't know how much that would be,
You
but.
could, I'm already trying to do that in that debt service levy
Yeah.
in the high years. I am kind of preserving it for the higher years, I will say that. So I think if I were trying to do that, then you would maybe choose to fund some true capital improvements that are eligible for being funded with bonds. You could decide to use reserves for that. But if you remember, I gotta figure out a way to how we use annual rollover now. Because we're already saying we gotta fund all our future equipment out of reserves. So we end up needing some rollover, right, to keep that all going past 2030. Obviously, we're still gonna need equipment in 2035, and so we can do that. It's trying, for example, let's say we have a good, if you will, this year, if we have more vacant positions than we expected and we are gonna grow our fund balance, we may choose to do that, but if we got almost a year before we really know that, is the frustration right now. But yes, we might want to do some select ones that way. I'm just hesitant to do, it's tempting, right, to say, well, we can buy down our fund balance, we'll just do all our capital out of there. But then what are the long-term effects of that in 3 years? I don't, that's the difficulty.
If you go back to our other things that we've done so far, and we're $225,000 we're giving away to NGOs, and that kind of matters. Now we need to start planning ahead for these things that we have to replace.
Probably the largest departments with the most capital projects, you would want to look at facilities and maybe conservation. We could look at those maybe the next 2 years. And for example, I think part of that electrical upgrade, that 675, that money is set aside, so I actually could pull that out of here because we've already set that aside.
Which item was that?
2028.
Yeah, 2028 on facilities, there's an item that says courthouse electrical upgrade for $675,000. So that would make a big difference to pull that out. I think we can do that. And we're working on the elevators. We may have some money for that. We haven't closed the loop on that right now. We have a number of improvements requested for conservation too. It's possible that maybe some of those can be done differently.
Linda, I wonder if that's something we could, in the facilities subcommittee, look at this,
And rather than just kind of
go over with Rory and
I don't know what would be at the end. Does everybody too want to look it over and see if there's thoughts or anything that they have in particular that they question or what's up? Certainly could.
And I mean, I think they've already offered their thoughts on what they could do without.
and we're looking further out now. That was for this year then.
Have you, I was gonna say, identified dollars then that you think would help? What you think this is very high, that takes these kind of spike leaps? just reducing those out in those particular years. But it's only an estimate.
Not necessarily, I wanted to get your impressions, I guess,
Yeah.
before look any further at that.
So just so I'm in the sort of right state of mind looking at this.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
What does it take to do that?
yeah, I know. So we're really looking at trying to avoid that balloon in FY 33, 34, 35. And,
Right now.
and a
it's-
million eases if we were, that's,
It does ease it, it
ease,
doesn't solve it.
doesn't solve it. The solving would be, did you say 3?
I didn't get that far last night, I can work on that to see what it's possible if we cut it to 2 million, the one we're talking about this spring, that might do it, but I
Okay.
don't know that for
Sure.
sure. So I could play with that today. But that, yeah, I didn't even go there because that felt extreme, but.
Sure.
Really no need to rush when we're trying to like hold off a little bit on budget
I know.
anyway.
Yeah.
I need to move
Yeah.
things, just have to move back, reconsider.
I feel like I've seen this in a presentation from you before, but debt service by where other counties are at, you've presented that to us, correct?
Our rate has been very low. We're starting to get up to where we will be like, I don't know exactly, but as we add to this, I'm trying to think what year I was looking. We will get up to about 5th from the bottom, which is about where we are, so, yeah, but that, I don't know what other counties are gonna do going forward. That
Sure.
would be if they kept things level and we are increasing. So I'm not sure what that looks like. We've been historically low, but
Yeah.
the last few years anyway, let me amend that, the last few years it's been low.
I mean, I think as we're all having conversations about the budget and the whole picture, I think that is an important layer of context for us if I can go back through and try to find that.
Mike, I have a question for you. Mr. Hendrickson,
Couple mics.
looking at some of your capital projects down the road, and this might be out of the realm of possibility, but Hawkeye, Community College has their construction program. And so, have you guys already approached them to have any projects? I don't know anything about this, I'm just kind of thinking as I sit here.
We haven't. Normally with these things, obviously, there's building codes involved and different things like that, and that's what we have to worry about. And a lot of times those things, they simply don't meet those standards. And that's why we haven't looked that way in the past. We used to do, years ago, a lot of this ourselves. But that's when we used to have a maintenance crew of like 7 people. And now I won't get this right, but the building code chapter that said
Chapter 26.
Chapter 26, when it rolled into town, that kind of eliminated, we basically were going to have to go out and bid jobs just like, everybody else. And we couldn't bid those jobs that way, quite honestly, by the time we figured salaries and benefits of our own employees, it just didn't work. At that point, there were major changes within our staff structure. And that maintenance crew went from like 7 people down to 3. And we sent 1 to the south unit, we left 2 in the north unit. And it gave up the ability to build Morton buildings and different things like that we used to do. I could tour you through conservation and show you probably a very large percentage of the buildings that exist right now, we built ourselves, including buildings like the Rotary Reserve. I helped build that building. We did all those things ourselves. And so that being said, once Chapter 26 rolled around, everything's just been bid out from that point. But, I mean, we could look into things like that. Typically, they can do certain things and they can't do certain things.
Right.
And then you're right back into the ballgame of bringing somebody else in to finish them up.
And I was just thinking easier stuff, siding.
Sure.
Replacements.
Yep.
Shingles and things like that. Cause I know they've got, was it that infill area off Williston and West Seventh? They've had a trailer over there from their
You got some
department.
problems.
Yeah, for quite a while doing work,
Mhm.
so I never stopped to talk to them, but.
Well, I mean, no, it's a great thing to look into, and we can certainly start asking those questions. We have not gone that route in the past, so.
Just curious, is all. I'm getting desperate over here, man.
Yeah, I know, well, we can work on this, so.
That's all I had, thank you.
Yes, I have before, yeah, I was gonna say, hard times, yeah, thank you. Just looking at options.
Well,
We're feeling pretty firm with those law enforcement.
Well, it's the best information I have.
Yeah.
And if we did have a call. I asked, I'll go pull that up. I did ask if there were, things that could be pushed out.
Yeah.
But, and I totally understand. That's what we've already done. We've gone through, we've given you our best guesses, and they still don't know because, a lot of computer things, manufacturers come out and put end of life on stuff, and they don't always tell you that well in advance. So we don't know, but that's what we're looking
In
at
7 years, yeah.
on the radio.
I know.
The radios themselves, yes, we've stretched it to 10 on all what we're calling the infrastructure pieces.
And then that's probably gonna be a permanent fixture going forward then, right? Just having to pay for
Well,
radios going into the future.
Unless and until somebody invents something else that you
Yeah.
don't need radios, you have some other thing that I don't know, that said something,
It's
we
never
just don't know
easy.
what's out there into the future, but.
Michelle, is that something where they could budget so much each year and just keep putting the funds in like a restricted amount of dollars for that purpose?
Well, I
Instead of
think
big-
the question would be where do the funds come from? They can't, the E911 used to generate more money than it does now, that fee. And now the state is wanting a share of that to keep
Yeah.
their system upgraded because they haven't provided for that system. So, the rest of it is consolidated communications, which comes out of everyone's operating budgets. I can't get the mayors of the small towns to really tell me if they have issues with their operating budgets, but I assume they do, that's what we hear that they do. So I don't think it's a good assumption that money can be set aside much out of operations to do that.
Conversation.
That's why we're looking at, what did you say?
I was just gonna say, it sounds like another conversation we'll have to have with them.
Well,
Ideas.
I mean, the reason that I've incorporated in here is 10 years ago, or whatever, the last time we did this, that was the ultimate conclusion that was reached by the group, that the best way to do it was this way. So that's why I'm doing it this way. Certainly don't have to. But that's why my assumption was that would probably be the preferred choice again. And at that time, I think it was an increase to county taxes, and I think we just had that increase and said it's for countywide radios, but when you're a taxpayer and you're writing out the check, you don't really care. You just know it's an increase, right?
Yeah, we did that budget with and without
I'm
quite-
sure.
quite a bit, yeah, just because it was such a difference and such a costly factor. And we also put it on tax bills. Public safety radio system was actually a line item
I know.
put on the tax bill, so people saw that. Just
Tim's made some noises, they're saying that that isn't supposed to be loud now. I don't know if that's true or not.
I wonder, yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know if we did that.
Love to do a round robin, each of the cities take a turn of, putting that on their students.
But everybody said the county, yeah. Everybody decided it was the best interest of all the cities for the county to take it on.
As always.
Yeah.
Well, and I
Okay.
do think for at least the radios themselves, it sounds, well, there's still some, there are challenges if you have different groups using different models of the radio. Not that if we really didn't, if you really chose not to do it, I think we could try to have them at least do their radios, the infrastructure pieces.
Yeah.
Maybe different, but
So I mean, you want kind of worst and best case scenarios to at least be considering all the options that there are in
and this is probably the worst.
there.
I mean, hopefully, I hope the pricing doesn't come in higher than, because it could.
Michelle,
Something
these,
everything.
the numbers you gave us today, these are the new numbers then for the radio stuff and everything too.
Should be,
The one earlier did not have those numbers.
right, because I did that before we
Yeah,
knew what they were.
before we knew.
Yeah. So the
But I
most-
have them now, so I tried to put them in here.
Okay.
I mean, you know, that vendor would prefer you just pay them annually, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's, for the county alone, I don't think that's reasonable to fund that out of our operating.
Yeah. Well, we can put that to paper and see what it looks like, and that's why you would say it looks unreasonable. Alright, so where do you wanna go next after dropping that?
Well, I thought that was enough bad news for today.
Yeah, okay.
And I realize it's hard to worry about 7 years from now, right now,
Yes.
but we are making choices today that
No,
impact
it's
that.
good to see the information and have that, it's just very difficult, like you said, with that crystal ball that you don't have even for next year or the next few years to know.
I don't know what capital, you know, we may have some things come up that we have to do, you just don't know that, but all your staff's done, they're giving you their best guesstimate today, and so I'm using those, and that's what we're trying to do.
What are your thoughts for our next work session? Or we just kind of, whatever, we need something, otherwise,
Right, I think it's whatever, at this point, I'm running out of ideas, it's probably just what do you wanna talk about? We can talk about this more. I will have, on the 24th, I will be asking you to set a data hearing for the $1 million in the voting equipment, so that I need to do that before we do our final budget, so I can get that debt service incorporated.
it's the meeting on the 24th, you want.
Next week.
And then the hearing, I think we're scheduling for around the 1st of April, April 5th or something, I don't know the date right now, but somewhere in there, 7th maybe, actually.
Yeah, so it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it'd be the 7th. So yeah, at this point, it's just food for your thoughts, and then what do you want to do? It'd be nice if we keep getting letters from the state in the mail giving us money, but
Yeah.
I don't suppose that will happen.
I don't know, it's probably not too much budget related, because we have budget in for the training sessions that we do at the university and that type of thing. I know we do in the board's budget, I know Amanda put some things in hers, and I did send out an email to the department heads to just see what their dollars were that they put in for training, so we kind of have a collective
Duplicating,
decision. What?
so we're not duplicating.
And seeing what that, yes, and seeing that we had funds set aside for that, not thinking like, oh shoot, no, but there were surprises for us. So, get back to that when we have some numbers, and Ted was talking, you know, about some of the things he was proposing for us, and it was just like, I said we needed to kind of take a look and see what that was, if that model was he was looking at or thinking about, and he was, saying in 2 weeks, if we wanted to focus, or kind of a laser focus on what his plan was, or if it's like he wanted some things to think about or pick and choose types of things, so I just said, put something together that we could look at. Put that one on the list. Budget, try to have that next week maybe. I know he was on spring break this week too, so. So we're ready to move out of work session and move on to, does anybody else have any questions? All right, any reports or information from the board? I was gonna say, some of these, we all knew Barb Prather had sent us a letter of support for the new market tax credits. And then she was out this week and said she'd be able to attend next week. And it seemed like likely she'd be wanting to as well to give us an update on it, but I haven't finalized that letter or looked at it again. I don't know if anybody had changes in it, but I'll take a look at it this week and get ready for that meeting and next week. April Lutheran Services of Iowa has a program that they've, I think, contacted the supervisors that would like to keep us abreast of some of the things that they have going on a quarterly basis. And in the conversation with them, it's mentioned that they maybe want to do a presentation to all board members in April. So we were looking at April 21st, they showed that date out, if that works for everybody. And I said, typically we're all here, whether by Zoom or in person. So just to kind of put that on everybody's record, and I'll send an email out on that just so as a reminder.
We got the drainage ditch presentation Kathy's got ready for us.
Yes, she and Ben both say they're ready, so we just have to come up with a date. I said, it seems like we look more and more now. We maybe can try for March 27th. I don't know. We can ask when they get back from spring break and see. Otherwise, we'll be a first early one in April, I'd say.
Okay.
That works for everybody. I haven't heard back from Ben, but I think he was just waiting now because we moved it several times. So I said when we get back in touch with him and confirm. Workforce development. In the summer, I think I brought the thoughts to you that our CEO group, our workforce development efforts, there had been, our regions groups had been approached by Mississippi Valley at the time. Mississippi Valley had asked us to consider mergers with them because they were having some financial problems. And the workforce development areas, we didn't, as I think Central is the other one we're trying to think of there, that had no interest in it at this time. So they were just merging with one of the other regions down south. But we've now been approached by East Central region because they are losing their staff person, their director. And so thought maybe this is another time to consider merging or whatever. So I wanted to at least make everybody aware that in the next few weeks, we decided in our group that we wanted to have meet like weekly, and so we're doing it on like noon on Fridays to try to put our thoughts and questions together, as well as hear why or why not this would make sense for us, because we're such a large region now. And everybody keeps having financial problems, obviously, but there are other ways to resolve it or solve it, or should we be doing this? So we're all, I think everybody was, for the most part, there were a couple of counties that said they weren't open to it, but the rest of us, I think, were at least to explore it and discuss it to see if it makes any sense at all for us to try to move in that direction, or at least have a firm reason for not. So just letting you know that those are ongoing. And South Central, let's see, East Central is what is considered now. South Central is the one that was talking with Mississippi Valley and moving forward with them merging. This one was from South Central Iowa, East Central Iowa, which is Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, as far as cities in the area. And but seeing where there might be benefits to doing it, maybe. Keeping our region in place, I think, has been important to us because of the services we need to provide, and how much we want to make sure that we're doing what we need to for our area and doing some service that maybe hurts us. So we see, I was just going to bring this up as a comment because I saw that yesterday had been the exchange with TJ and Tim regarding the churches asking for abatements, and there's been kind of a run on those this last couple of years of different ones asking for abatements. And I guess asking everyone to give some thought to those emails. It sounds very much like there was a part of that was still something that should have been worked out with the realtor and the church beforehand, and isn't really the obligation of the county to abate because the circumstances being right, even though the county could decide to do that. So I know they'll be asking for a portion of that, but it seemed to me that the church should be getting back together. It seems with the parties of each of them having realtors, each of them having probably attorneys, each of them have been through real estate transactions before, that there were enough parties there that should have been looking after each other as their clients and making people aware that part of that bill was the responsibility of Granger's unless Granger decided to give it to the church. But I guess that's where I thought we'd maybe try to follow up with that a little bit more and have more information for it before we put it on the agenda. But I knew they were coming to a timeline of the end of this month that particular part of the bill needed to be paid. So that's why they were looking to us, hadn't really contacted us. I think they contacted or talked to different people and hadn't got to us or the assessor's office to the degree of somebody moving it forward, and now that it is. But I thought I'm more than happy to follow up with them, talk with Tim and TJ a little bit more, but it sounds like that's the direction the county should at least make aware of what happened or before we go into an agenda item. But that should be coming up, I guess, fairly soon.
So who would that request come from specifically? What department would be processing that? Would that be the treasurer's office or would that be
That's who
auditor's office?
we would advise, if we were to abate the taxes, we would advise them of that and they would abate, they'd have to deal with that portion of it. But as far as this portion of it isn't really
It's
the county's responsibility, no. But as Tim said, it's the county's decision, the county supervisor's decision, if they were to weigh in on it. No. So I'm happy to follow up with some more information, because there wasn't a lot of that provided on who was advised of that, or if they weren't, or if they were just blankly asking for that. Hopefully next week, then we can get something on the agenda for that, with a follow-up email to you. Anyone else?
Nothing.
No?
I get married, right?
Legislative, yeah, thank you. All right.
I just say, the ISAC, I was very impressed with a lot of information that I was able to receive last week. So presentations were done well. It's almost like they give you just enough to want more and then it's over. So,
It's very quick.
yeah, but it was well worth the time spent there for it, so.
Great. Motion for adjournment then?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.